Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here for session 2. I know life can get crazy sometimes, and it takes a little bit of extra effort to show up for ourselves. So thank you for showing up for yourself. So let's take a moment, kind of shake out our bodies. Come on, shake it out, stand up, and just shake out the tension of the day. Now do a little body scan from head to toe and notice where you're feeling tension. And see if you can ease that tension a bit. You can even rub those areas to see if you can release it. I know I get it in my neck and in my shoulders, so just kind of rub that. Because easing tension lets us set aside our hectic day so we can fully arrive for our session. So I hope you feel like you've arrived. Last week, we talked about your goals for this 6-week course and about your big motivating factor, or your big MOFA, and just why you're even doing this in the first place. We connected with your anchors, and the most important thing, put yourself at the top of your priority list. Today, we're going to follow through the basic structure of what's going well, going to coach around any obstacles or challenges you may have had, and then we're going to look at your pre-work, your My Energy foods, your action items from the pre-work and last week. And we're going to learn some information about high energy foods. I'm going to give you a couple tools you'll use to move forward. And then we're going to create your action steps. We'll end the session with our aha moments and appreciations. How does that sound? Great. So today I'd like to know what you'd like to celebrate. What is going well in your life? Write that down in your quick map. This is what's going awesome in my life right now. Go ahead, write that down. Doesn't matter how big, how small, just get that down and feel that sense of pride of, wow, this is really going great. Okay, I am so anxious to hear how your action steps went last week. And I'm curious to hear, did you connect with your anchors? How many do you have? And where did you place them in your environment, in your home, in your car, wherever they needed to be? Did you put yourself at the top of the priority list? This one is important. Let me say this emphatically. It is not selfish to put yourself at the top of the priority list. You can't move forward with your goals if you come from a point of depletion. It's not fair to you, it's not fair to the people you love, and it's not fair to your career. Nobody gets the best of you when you have nothing left to give. Focus on yourself for the next 6 weeks and begin to notice a newfound energy and a feeling of purpose. It will be there, I promise you, if you put yourself first. For all of your action items that you were able to follow through on, congratulations. I would love to know, how is this different than what you've done in the past? Write that down. This is the way to form new habits. You have one side of you that says, I'm going to do whatever your unhealthy behavior is. I'm going to eat this bag of chips. But now you've decided to do something new, something different. And at first it feels a little unfamiliar, but with repetition, and if you're mindful about it, those old doubts and those old worries, they will become obsolete. And it will become natural to say no to those unhealthy behaviors instead of being blocked by that fear and that doubt that you'll be pulled forward with a sense of confidence. And you will have that pride of showing up for yourself and taking control. Do you feel a sense of that pride, of that following through, and I did it and I showed up for myself? That is awesome. And I want you to take a minute. Close your eyes. It's okay, I'll be right here. Just close your eyes. And imagine that future you who has everything that you're working for in this next 6 weeks, that healthy you. And slip your fingers where hers are. And put your toes where hers are. And you're breathing with her lungs. Your heart becomes hers. Now using all of your senses, notice what she is seeing. What sounds does she hear? What scents are around her? What is she smelling? Is she touching something? What does that feel like? Notice that sensation. Is there a taste? Who's she with? What is she doing? Just take a bit of time and be with that future you. Use all of your senses. Okay, come back to the room. What changes had occurred in this future you? How did you feel being in that body? Hold on to that feeling. You can do this exercise whenever you want to do, because this is you. This is who you are. What I love about this 6-week program, it's like a container, and there's a discipline to that. The root word of discipline is disciple. So if you think of being a disciple for yourself or of your well-being, throughout the program, these anchors, those little reminders, are continuously causing you to ask yourself, is this choice I'm making right now in alignment with my goals and who I'm destined to be? That future me. Those are your little vows as we embark on this 6 weeks adventure. Your commitment. So it's kind of like you're going to get to fall in love with yourself for the next 6 weeks. And I will do everything I can to be in service of that. Okay, I'm curious, did you come across any challenges or obstacles? If you did, I'm so glad you're being honest with yourself. It gives us a chance to course correct. Sometimes learning new habits means letting go of something that's been a comfort or a coping mechanism. And one of the things I say in coaching that I love is you're always winning the game you're playing. So let's not play the blame game. You can't accomplish what you want if you're playing the blame game, right? And as you reach, I would love for us to turn that around so whatever you struggled with in the past isn't a part of your life anymore. Remember, we've only done one session. So realize the tide is rising, and this isn't about making too big of a change all at once. That creates too much pressure on ourselves. That makes so many more places in our lives that we start to feel like we screwed up and we start playing that blame game. So let's not take on too much at once. Let go of judgment and take a slightly different frame, because inevitably you're going to stumble again. But instead of judgment, I want you to approach it with curiosity and go, isn't it interesting that I just did that? Isn't it interesting that I rolled over and hit the snooze button instead of going out for my walk this morning? And just notice it with curiosity. No judgment. Do you think you can embrace that? Okay. When you do that, it gives us a little bit more information. Just being curious that it happens and doing it without judgment starts to clue you in on what you tell yourself what you're feeling in the moment by piquing that curiosity. When you let go of that judgment, understand that with judgment comes the feeling that we're at war with ourselves. And it just makes any compulsion stronger. And in that moment, we start to kind of self-destruct. Can you put yourself in the position what that inner dialogue might be? When you start to judge yourself, what you're telling yourself, write that down. This is a perpetual vicious cycle. So I don't want you to try to stop yourself from going forward. I want you to hold a frame of curiosity. The curiosity slows everything down. So instead of choosing an unhealthy behavior, you start to make a choice. And you own it if you choose that behavior. You know what? I'm noticing that I'm bored and I want to go for those chips, and I'm going to do it anyway. I choose to do that. You're owning it. You're not doing it behind your own back. Have you ever eaten behind your own back? Like, you know you're not supposed to eat something, so you just start like shoveling it in really, really fast because you're like, don't tell myself that I'm doing this. If I eat it really fast, myself won't notice. We've all been there, right? So we're not doing it as an attack. We're being mindful and we're making a choice. Because when the body feels like it needs to defend, it wants to hold on to that weight. Because it's like, I'm preparing for war. That's a survival mechanism. And when we're judging ourselves, we're in a stressed state. Judgment causes stress on the body. And often when we're in a stress state, our digestion shuts down. And we're going to go into this a lot into a future session. But right now, trade judgment for curiosity. Is that a good plan? Because judgment comes from a place of negativity. And this course is about approaching life from a place of positivity. Know that you're going to make the necessary changes. You will stumble. That is normal. But moving forward is also normal. So when you stumble, just think to yourself, yeah, Carol told me that was going to happen, but it's okay. I own my next step. I'm going to show up for myself and I'm going to start being healthy now. In our last session, you wrote down your big motivating factor, your big MOFA. Take a minute, pull out your quick map, reread your big MOFA. And what is most important about that? Say it out loud. Is there anything that we may have missed or you'd like to add to your big MOFA? Something that feels really important or that might increase your motivation to follow through? You dug down into your soul about why your big MOFA was important. Is there something even deeper? If so, write that down. It's important to get down to that really deep, deep, deep motivating factor of why you want to show up for yourself. And here's what I want you to do. Say out loud this statement and answer it for yourself. What is most important to me in this journey is whatever it is. And this is why it's important to make it happen. What is most important to me in this journey is, and this is why it's important to make it happen. happen. When you say it out loud, you're putting it out into the universe. You're making that declaration to yourself. Now, what, if anything, might stop you or prevent you from following through this coming week? What, if anything, needs to change in order for you to follow through? And what accountability do you need to ensure your inevitable success? Okay, thank you so much. The foundational work is so important for our success. We're rewiring the brain to make your new healthy habits a part of your life, the way you are. You're on your way. Are you ready for something new? Today, we're going to talk about your high energy foods, the foods that give you energy rather than take it away. And you've been working on this for a couple of weeks now. So pull out the information from your quick map journal right now. We're going to go over that. And the reason this is so important is the more energy you have, the better you feel, the more motivated you'll be to take care of yourself. When we feel tired or we lack energy, we start making compulsive, convenient choices that really aren't that great for us. So have you ever been in a situation where you need to eat, but you've waited too long and you intended to make, say, a healthy lunch, like maybe a salad or some kind of healthy soup or something, but while you're heating that up, you are so hungry and you're so compulsive that you eat like 3 pieces of toast while you're waiting? You know what I mean, right? You start making these choices that are just convenient and compulsive, but not necessarily what you want to be doing. On the other hand, when you feel uplifted and positive, you're going to be making those conscious choices for yourself in every area of your life. Remember, how you do one thing is how you do everything. And we want to get to a place where you're making supportive choices for yourself rather than those destructive choices, where that becomes just what you do. It's not even a question. You simply choose the foods that nourish you, that are the highest vibe for you. They give you the highest frequency. They give you the most energy, and you don't even think about the ones that don't anymore. This does not mean that you're going to be deprived of your favorite foods. We're going to make room for those. My program is not about deprivation. We're just having our default foods be those that feed our well-being rather than take it away. That would be our new default. And the aberration might be those foods that may be a little more indulgent. So let's take a look at your pre-work. Which foods robbed you of energy? And which foods that you may enjoy but left you feeling sluggish? There's no wrong or right answers here. This is a personal evaluation. This is all about you tuning into your own body. You may have noticed that some foods that we typically deem as healthy kind of zap your energy. Now, take a minute to think about the foods that you typically default to or eat regularly for a quick pick-me-up or a quick satisfaction. And when you choose to eat those foods, what is it? A bran muffin, a whole wheat bagel, a bag of chips. What emotion is associated with that food? And how do you feel physically right after you eat? And then how do you feel 2 hours later? So write down, when I eat whatever the food is, I feel however you feel. And notice, is there a time of day where you tend to go for these foods? Do you have an afternoon slump where you kind of go for the bag of Oreos? And is that in alignment with how you want to feel? And approaching it with curiosity, isn't it interesting that we go ahead and eat those things because it's just what we've always done, it's what we do? But when we really become connected with how it makes us feel, there's a huge difference. We talk about stress and managing stress during the course. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your stress level throughout the day? 10 being really, really high. Thank you. And I want to raise an awareness of where your stress is, and that when your stress is getting really high, is that a trigger to start eating unhealthy foods or doing some other unhealthy behavior? It's like when the stress is over, do you kind of collapse on the couch and start to crave a starchy or fast food? Or during that time when you're so wound up and you're so frustrated you don't eat? Just notice that. Become aware of how that stress could impact your nutrition and your health. Because when we're really stressed out, food can serve as comfort. It actually raises serotonin levels in the brain, which are those feel-good chemicals that bring about feeling content. It allows us to relax. So in some ways, eating those low energy foods, those comfort foods, can actually be a solution to calm your nervous system. And interestingly, when you feel anxious or stressed, it's commonly, people commonly eat high carbohydrate foods. So if you tend to do that, know that you're normal. People tend to reach for those during times of high stress. Now, for some people, these kinds of foods make them feel temporarily better while they're eating it, but then they crash. I'm like that when I eat salty, high carb foods, like crackers or breads, because there's a pleasure to eating those. And during the time I feel energized when I'm actually eating, but then right after I don't. But I needed a break. I'm not really hungry when I ate those foods. I just kind of reach for them because that's what I always do. Is that what it's like for you? And do these kind of foods provide you relief? Do they provide you an energy boost? Or do they make you feel worse after? How do you feel like 2 hours after you ate them? Let me give you an example of a low energy food for me, and that's pasta. After I eat pasta, I feel like a whale. I have no energy. I'm bloated, and all I want to do is crash on the couch. And that lasts from immediately till 2 hours later. That food does not nourish me at all. I don't eat pasta anymore because it's not worth it to me. I don't like feeling that way. So think about your low energy foods, foods that you may really, really like, but really don't give you energy at all, that make you feel like a whale, like blech. And I want you to say out loud, I no longer want to be having that experience. So if we were to replace how you feel after eating those low energy foods, like feeling like a whale, what feeling would you like to replace that with? So this next week, I'd like you to start to notice and make a correlation with your behaviors and your emotions and how you're feeling and who you're being when you want to reach for those foods. Because what we're doing is we're building your intuition about your body and what positively fuels it and what negatively fuels it. It takes a while to build this. We're building the diet that's perfect for your body. And it takes a while for you to tune into your intuition so you can really understand, this is how I'm feeling. I know when I'm feeling this way, this is what brings me energy. And I know what doesn't bring me energy. And if you don't want to feel that low energy anymore, you will tend toward those high energy foods. That's why it's important to write them down and keep track of all of them so we can create your perfect diet. Now, this is not determining some list of good or bad foods, because what happens when we make lists? We start to identify with those lists. So then we start to call ourselves good when we eat our good foods and bad when we eat our bad foods. The bad foods, if you will, do have their rightful place. And again, working from the frame that we talked about earlier, moving away from judgment to curiosity so we can stop being at war with ourselves. That's what gives the body the ability to relax, to no longer needing to have a grip on the weight. It relaxes and it finally starts to let go. The weight naturally falls off when we stop being at war with our bodies. So notice those foods that you crave. They do have that rightful place. They are delicious, aren't they? I am never going to ask you to completely eliminate those foods from your life if you don't want to. We will actually honor that they hold a place. So the body doesn't have to be like, I'm never going to be able to have that again, which makes it like a drug. Like, I've got to get my fix. Have you ever gone on a so-called diet and the night before you start, you eat everything that you know you're not supposed to eat? That's what I'm talking about. So there are times that you need to remind yourself about these foods. You need to say to that food, yes, once in a while, there's a right time and a right place for you, chocolate cake, and you are delicious. And thank you for being so delicious. But you need to tell yourself, right now, I have choices. I'm not a bad person for eating something that I know that is going to leave me sluggish and drained. And just notice when you're in a situation where you're wanting to go for a certain kind of food, what does my body need right now? If you're hungry, what do you want to eat? If you're bored, what else can you do? If you're lonely, is there a friend that you can call? Can you write a letter? Think about your emotion that you're feeling at the moment that you're going for that low energy food. Because it's the emotion that we need to feed. Unless you're truly hungry. And then you can make a choice about a high energy food. But if the emotion has nothing to do with food, then that's what we need to feed, not your stomach. We're building your intuition. Intuitively, I know what will be best for me right now, and I'm going to trust that. This is not an overnight fix. You're not going to flip on some magic switch and it's all going to be perfect. But little by little, the body starts to relax and it doesn't need to grasp or go in desperation or in a compulsion, choose the foods that feed the emotion. Okay? So we're going to switch gears. What foods give you high energy? And be really specific. If you say fruit, what kinds of fruit? Strawberries, bananas, blueberries? Be really specific. And when you eat those foods, how do you feel? You have some idea which foods drain your energy and give you energy, right? So I wonder, in your relationship with food, and we talked about this a minute ago, when do you default to your low energy foods? For example, when you're running out the door to work, when you get in a fight with your partner or a coworker, even when you just finished a workout, even if you have a really important deadline or your computer won't work. When is it that you really go for those low energy foods? Know that. Know those situations. Know those emotions. That tells you so much about yourself. And I'm going somewhere with all of this. There really is a method to my madness. Most diet programs focus on what not to eat. That can feel like deprivation. And while that may work for a little while, eventually we start to give in because there's no pleasure in deprivation. It just doesn't feel fun, right? You may have to experience this before. You may have had this experience before when you try and tell yourself that you're not going to eat anything tomorrow, or there's a feast or famine binging starving cycle that goes on. Have you ever experienced that before? And what does your body tell you when you experience that? Because it might work for a short period of time for some people. We can do that little deprivation game, but eventually we're going to give in because there's no pleasure in deprivation. It's not fun. It's not sustainable. We're doing a paradigm shift here. The strategy is we're going to focus on what you do get to eat, not what you don't get to eat. I get to eat my high energy foods, and that makes me feel amazing. That makes me feel light. That makes me feel energized. How awesome it is that I get to feel that way. I get to eat all of these healthy foods that make me feel amazing. This is how we start nurturing a healthy relationship to the body and the food. We train ourselves to be pulled naturally toward our supportive habits versus our self-destructive ones. They do make you feel good. They give you the energy that you need. Do this consistently, and it's going to be like turning up a radio dial. You're going to be feeling amazing because you get to eat the foods you love that make you feel so good. And I don't mean to get all woo-woo on you, but I think about it like in terms of a smog. Have you ever noticed that there's a lot of people that are just walking around kind of in a complacent smog fog? You know, they have this glazed look in their eye, like there's extra layer on them, and they're just almost going through the motions of life. They've almost forgotten how to tap into their personal power. And you don't feel a lot of aliveness radiating from them. But when you're in touch with your personal power, you feel unstoppable and you make crystal clear decisions. You're focused, you're creative, you're patient, you're loving, and you're in tune with your body's desires and your own body's needs. One of the things that I would love for you to get from our work together is tuning into that intuition. This is the place where you feel aligned in every aspect of your life, where you feed yourself those high energy foods, because to do anything else just doesn't make any sense. This is an opportunity for you to live into the highest experience of life, of aliveness that you can have. Does that sound like the path that you want to be on? You will hear me say, what are the whispers my body is telling me? We want to listen to the whispers before your body starts to scream. Here's an example. I used to love chocolate. My kryptonite was peanut M&Ms. And I felt like crap after I ate the chocolate. I didn't feel well. It didn't nourish me, but I craved it, so I ate it. I was stressed, so I ate it. My body didn't feel well. So I started listening to those whispers. Carol, you don't feel good after you eat this food. And you know what I did? I started to tell myself, I don't like chocolate. I don't need that. I'm sorry, I'm not a chocolate person. I don't like chocolate. Anybody that knows me will have heard me say that. I told myself, I don't like chocolate. And what you think becomes your reality. I don't like chocolate anymore. I don't eat chocolate anymore. That's become my reality. So the more you say to yourself, and the more you create your own reality, the further you're going to go with your goals. And the quicker you're going to reach your dreams. Okay, this is all going to take practice. It's not like after this session, you're going to be eating great and every dinner is a healthy dinner and you're immediately going to be amazing. You need to be purposeful and you need to be intentional. So today we're starting with a new paradigm, focusing on what you get to eat versus what you don't get to eat. That you get to feed yourself this healthy, nourishing food, this high vibe food. So if you can in your journal, just write that down. I am focusing on what I get to eat, not what I don't get to eat. And you know, we're lucky because eating healthy has become easy. We're not talking about like eating tree bark and stuff like that. When I was growing up, it was Melba toast. And if anybody here remembers Melba toast, that was a lot like eating tree bark. There are a number of healthy foods from which to choose, and they taste great. And there's so many ways to prepare it with wonderful spices. We're lucky to grow up in a time right now when there's healthy diets out there, or there are healthy recipes out there to make healthy food fun and interesting. So let's go back to talk about the foods that drain your energy and the foods that give you energy. So the next week you can develop a keen awareness. This week, you're not going to focus on the foods that give you low energy. We're going to focus on the foods that give you high energy, those foods that you get to eat. And I have some handouts that we'll go over after we go through the next part of our session that I'll show you. And I'm curious, if we were to go to your refrigerator or your pantry right now, do you have your high energy foods available? So if you do, that's perfect. But if you don't have those foods, we want to schedule time, a date and a time that you're going to go to the grocery store and block that on your calendar so you're able to do that. Then you don't have to worry. It's on your calendar. It's a sacred appointment. That's what you're going to do. And you can be fully present for everything else going on in your life. And then I'd like you to block off time so you can do whatever food prep you need to do. If you need like instant gratification, if you need a snack during your day, you have those high energy foods available to you. So it's great to have a lot of fruits, vegetables on hand. So they're like grab and go. So the prep is preparing those in little individual containers so you can just go and grab it and then you have it. Even if you, nuts are a great high energy food. Almonds, walnuts, pistachios. And if you put them in little baggies and just be able to grab them, because you don't want to get a whole handful because they're high in calories and fats, in good fats, but you don't want to eat too many. So an individual serving, you can just grab and go. Having those all prepared is perfect because then you won't overeat. You can get your high energy foods, but they're going to be easy to grab. So what does that look like for you if you're able to set aside some time in the next couple of days to get everything purchased and prepared for the week? And the first time may take a little bit longer, but you know, you're going to have to get used to preparing your fruits and your vegetables and getting everything put together. After a while, it's going to go much quicker. And if you don't have the little individual baggies, snack baggies, go ahead and get those, or little glass containers so you can have those for easy grab and go. You'll have everything prepped. And right now it takes me about an hour when I do that. So you can plan on about that amount of time to do your prep work. And I know if I've prepared my menus for the week and I know I'm going to be cutting up vegetables, certain vegetables, I can already get those cut up and put in the refrigerator. So making my meals goes even faster. How does that sound? Good. So what day are you going to do your grocery shopping? And when will you do your prep? Write that down in your journal and get it on your calendar. Make that a sacred appointment. And who's going to hold you accountable for that? Great. There's one more thing I want you to do with your high energy foods, and it's what we call our 4-day energy experiment. And I'm going to share my screen right now. Okay. This is the 4-day energy experiment, and this is really approaching our proteins to see what kind of proteins work best for you and your body. And you're going to get this handout, so I won't read you this whole thing. But here's the journal. This is a fillable PDF, so you can fill it out. So looking at day 1, 2, 3, and 4, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. For your breakfast on the first day, you're not going to have any protein. Document what you ate, how you felt right after, circle 1, or say up or down, and how you felt 2 hours later. For lunch, eat an animal or a plant protein. Write down what you ate, how you felt. And for dinner, again, no protein. What you ate, how you felt. And each day is different with the mix of kinds of protein. And what this is going to do is it's going to tell you what kind of protein works best for your body. I know for me, plant protein works best for me. Excuse me. My body works much better with a plant protein. I get more energy from plant. It may not be that way for you. I know for my body, I have to have protein with every meal. You may not need that, but this is for you to learn about your body. So while you're working on your high energy foods, your low energy foods, let's work on our proteins to see, is there a certain protein that works best for you? You're also going to get this handout. How much protein should I eat to lose weight? Protein is important. It should be 25 to 30% of your total daily calories. And it's when you do that, it's shown to boost your metabolism by 80 to 100 calories per day. So there you go. So you'll get this handout as well. And then here for when you're looking for your non-animal proteins, some people don't know where to turn for those. You will get this handout, your proteins for vegetarian and vegan, for vegetarian vegans. So you'll be able to see all the different kinds of proteins that you can have. Okay? So that is the 4-day energy experiment. I love this experiment. You know, one of my clients, interestingly enough, she grew up in the Midwest eating beef her whole entire life. When she did this experiment, she found out beef made her feel like, ugh, it made her feel lethargic and awful. So she doesn't eat beef anymore. She doesn't eat any red meat anymore. She eats chicken and she eats fish, and she loves her vegetarian or her plant-based proteins. So you may learn something that you didn't know about your body. You know, she just thought, well, this is the way I'm supposed to feel. Well, come to find out, it was the food she was eating that was causing her to feel that way. Again, be curious. Find out what your body is telling you. Listen to the whispers. We don't want your body to start screaming. Okay, so your action items. We want you to continue with your high energy, low energy foods. We're going to add to that your 4-day energy experiment. And write down in your journals, keep track of all this. You won't be able to keep it all in your mind. Write it down, because that's how you're going to create your perfect diet for your body. Notice that there is no judgment or curiosity. If you eat something that you know is energy draining, make a conscious choice to eat it. Don't just scarf it down so you can fool yourself that thinking that you actually didn't do it. Approach it as, isn't it interesting that I knew this was a low energy food and I decided to eat it anyway? What is the experience that I was looking for in the moment that I ate that? Go back to those emotions. You might think it's weird that I'm telling you that, but it's really not, because I'm really trying to teach you to tune into your body. I think I've probably made that clear. Notice what it's telling you. Notice what you're feeling. What are your emotions? Who are you being in that moment? Write all of that down in your journal. You won't remember it, but when you review your journal, you're going to start to notice those trends. What your emotions are, who you're being. If you're bored, you'd go for junk food. Don't forget to also notice how you feel after you drink liquids. If you drink a diet pop, if you drink a sugared pop, if you drink a juice, if you drink an alcohol, notice how you feel. Then again, do your 4-day energy experiment and get on your calendar when you're going to go to the grocery store and when you're going to do your prep. Okay? Tell me, what appreciations did you have for this session? What did you learn? Write that down in your journal. I would love to hear about what your appreciations are for these sessions, what your aha moments are. Like, oh my gosh, I never knew that. Put that in the comments in the Facebook group. I would love to hear about it. And our next session is one of my very favorite sessions. We're going to discuss how you eat. Okay, everybody, have a wonderful week. Post in the Facebook group. Don't forget, I'm out there. I'm commenting. I want to hear from you. I will talk to you again next week. Have a great week and a successful week. We'll see you all later. Goodbye.